devastating, violent, and demoralizing.
On your feet, highway! This is Service Headline News. I'm your host, Marty Smith, and I'm joined by Mr. History, Eric Perrott.
Gentlemen, what's going on?
And my fellow legacy guardian, Jake Wall.
How you guys doing tonight?
And we're here to bring you the latest headlines and updates pertinent to all servicemen and women. So take your seats, get informed, and have a laugh as the Swearing and Podcast presents Service Headline News. I was so excited that Ken was on the program that I didn't hit record, so I got to do that twice.
Eric saved you though.
Yeah, he did.
He went too far.
Yeah, thank you, Eric. That rarely happens. It's only every other week. So, gentlemen, we are joined today by Army Sergeant Major retired Ken Ramos. Thanks for coming on the show, Ken.
Thanks for bringing me on. Appreciate the invite.
Now, usually we interview our guests before they come on, but since I haven't had you on for a long-form interview, let me read a few short lines I put together. All right? So, you entered the Army in 1989, same as me, and served your first 10 years in aviation. Then the next 19 years in special operations.
Yep.
You are considered one of the leading experts in social media exploitation and multimedia employment within the psychological operations regiment. You know, this bio sounds like a golden pen thing, for Soldier of the Year. So, because they're just big, long run-on sentences. They're all good, but they're all big.
I was always told to make sure that bios are spelt out in the event there's somebody who doesn't understand what they mean. So that way, I could have made that like a three-liner with a bunch of acronyms, and you'd have been like, "What the hell is all this?"
No, this is great, because if you have some supply lieutenant colonel reading this, he'd be like, "What is this? What did he do?"
Exactly.
Yeah, but anytime you can exploit shit, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, that sounds good, doesn't it?
Exploitation.
All right, Ken, you've deployed multiple times as part of Operation Iraqi Freedom and Operation Enduring Freedom Africa. Correct. I didn't know we had an Enduring Freedom Africa.
Yes, we had Enduring Freedom Afghanistan, Enduring Freedom Iraq, Enduring Freedom Philippines, Enduring Freedom Africa.
Holy cow! Yeah, I had no idea.
Yeah, there was a few sprinkled Enduring Freedoms everywhere before. Most people
a lot of freedom out there.
Yeah, well, we got to keep spreading.
Or we got lazy with naming.
Yeah, we got lazy with naming.
Just hyphenated it. So
you went to Somalia, Kenya, Ethiopia, and my favorite, Djibouti.
Right? Actually, the Somalia mission was more of a support outside, just looking over the border type thing, because the mission of support is that with them, it's where we were at. We couldn't just you could just cross the border into and say, "Hey, hi guys, how you doing?" Because of the tribal regions there, it was pretty crazy. You could just not walk around, specifically if you're looking like, I don't know, an Ethiopian or a Somalian or a Kenyan. Right. If you're light complected, then what you doing here, white boy type thing. You know what I mean?
Did you grow a beard? Did that help you blend in?
I actually grew a little bit of a beard, and I just decided to shave it because it was just a pain in the ass.
And they're like, "Hey, look at that white boy with a beard."
It was too dry. It was itchy, and I'm like, you know what? I was getting tired of the food in my. I just shaved it.
Okay, here comes the golden pen stuff. You then served as the Joint Military Information Support Command (NCOIC) for the Regional Magazine Initiative, supporting over 6 combatant commands and 6 Special Operation Forces components within U.S. SOCOM, not done yet, later transitioning to messaging and digital outreach to commander U.S. SOCOM's global SOF network. That is a badass sentence. I have no idea what it means.
Yeah, what the hell does that mean?
So the Regional Magazine Initiative was part of a program to where we gave magazines that had the appearance like it was their own. You ever read like Chains magazine or whatever, and it presents itself like a professional military foreign magazine. Just like, look at this magazine. Look, whatever. Well, we did it in all 6 GCCs, combatant commands.
Yeah.
And so CENTCOM had one. for the Middle East, South America. The Southcom had one for South America. We even had one for Northcom. We had one for Asia Pacific. And these were like legit. You look at it and they look. I wish I would have kept some after retirement, but they were just
got shiny paper and everything. Huh?
Yeah. It looks legit. And so part of that was I had to make sure that all the thematics. So, for instance, for that region, if there was some bad stuff going on with whatever they decided to name what the bad guys are, anyways, these days they change more pronouns than when you can imagine. They were changing pronouns before it became cool. They would have a different name for like violent extremist organizations, VEOs. And so it was basically with some of the stuff that they would provide with some of their own writers we worked with those specific governments that would, they'd give us material for their magazine. And then I'm not saying we added some messaging in there, but we assisted them in their pro-US, there you go, pro-US / our objectives with the country team. So we worked. It wasn't just a willy-nilly, hey, I'm going to go make a magazine. It was staffed pretty good throughout the different embassies as well. So, and then of course we had to coordinate with the different teams that were there in the embassy. So yeah, that was the regional magazine. The Global Soft Network, that was Admiral McCraven's initiative, almost like Rainbow Six. If you've ever read the book from Tom Clancy,
sure.
Rainbow Six, it was going to be like that. It was going to be like a Rainbow Six like organization with different spheres of influence that you would see in a different area. So, I mean, if you look if you look at the International Soft Week 2012, we even did a movie trailer for them. We did the DVD set for them. We did. I mean, we dreamed it. We churched it up to make it look like, and the whole idea of it is for them, to pick up the tab on their own missions and their own training and their own funding. So yeah, that was the Global Soft Network. It was a great time. I remember my first in brief with that, and I remember Craven, he addressed the staff, and then he's like, "Who are my media guys?" And then me and a buddy of mine raised our hands, and I'm like, "What do you want?" And I was like, "Well, what are we looking at here, sir?" And he just looked at me and he's like, "Make me nervous. I want Iron Man." And
shit.
So I'm like, "Okie dokie, sir." So we, man, I wish I would have freaking had some lickies and chewies with me to show off, but yeah. So we did. We sent off all the and what this is called transmedia marketing. And basically, what it is, it's like a multi-echelon marketing that you can touch, look, feel, review, and stuff like that, and participate in. So it's almost like, for instance, we had ISOF patches, and we made patches for.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
So like the Middle East guys got the tan patch, the Southcom guys got the green jungle patch, the European guys got the more Euro, gray looking patch, and we sent it off to everybody. And so you could just imagine being some Bosnian or some freaking, some Ukrainian. What the hell is this? What's this patch for? What's this patch from? And then, and then you show up, and then you go to the conference, and you're seeing the patch, you're seeing that design, you're seeing that. It's almost like a Nike emblem, which is it was a globe with a dagger in it, and we got permission.
By the way, they're here.
Right. And so yeah, it was pretty fun. It was a learning experience to me, because I was also challenged as a multimedia guy. We shot a live event, and in 4 days they did a rehearsal. They I don't know if you heard about this back in the day in 2012. SOCOM invaded Tampa. They assaulted. They had helicopters fly in. They had CV-22s flying in, and they had all this hardware showing up. And my job, my responsibility, the make me nervous part of it was to set up 21 camera positions and then doing post-production all the fucking media hype, and then turn it into a fucking DVD set.
No way.
And so yeah, so basically you as a foreign special operations guy would be like, say you're Ukrainian or Romanian or South America or Colombia, and you're just bragging about, man, I went to this conference, they gave me a fucking patch, and this is great, and they gave me some folders that look like this tag. And then the next thing you know, they were like, hey, cool, whatever, and then they're talking to their soldiers or fellow leaders, and then the next thing you know, they get a DVD like box set copy of all the fucking breakout conversations, all to include that hype video that we did. And it was a great experience. It was like, I guess it's the only feather in my cap that I can remember that really, because it was just hard work, because I was talking to movie companies. I was talking to Gerber to authorize the use.
Oh, wow.
I had, I talked to Steve Jablonski and Epic Games. We used the soundtrack to Gears of War for this whole thing. That was the ambiance, and so yeah, it was I won't ever forget it.
Was the video you produced a la Act of Valor with our buddy Rourke Denver?
Act of Valor. Let me tell you guys a story about Act of Valor. So
tell these guys that story you told me.
So Act of Valor was originally done by the Bandito brothers as a show of demonstration of naval special warfare. And it was supposed to show the boat guys, which is the special warfare combat crewmen, the SWICs, and the SEALs, and the 160th, and rah. We were gonna show it. Yeah, this is how we're gonna do it, and use as an example of how to conduct specific, missions and yada yada. Well, they took the footage, and unbeknownst to us, not only did they took the footage, but they made a goddamn movie out of it. And I'm like, it wasn't even a good movie. No. I mean, Rosalind Sanchez was in it, so she's hot. So yeah, you're gonna. Yeah,
she's the one who could act in the whole.
Yeah, she was the one actually acting. And then of course, some of the sexy freaking gunboat scenes and helicopter scenes and all that. Right. Those were all supposed to be a demonstration video, and I can't really say what the boss said, Admiral Craven at the time. I'll just say that they didn't get the same cooperation that other film producers made, which is why that was why the task was given to me and a friend of mine, an NCO who was part of a multimedia guy, Army trained multimedia guy. And I'm just a PSYOP guy. I'm just there, picking up the. I don't know, it's almost like watching. I felt like I was in an apprenticed or a fellowship with. Oh wow! With like he's a great guy. Frank, my buddy Frank. He was the one that taught me the ropes of filmmaking. How to use some graphic art, graphics and stuff like that. But yeah, it was. Yeah. So anyways, every time I see Act of Valor in like a DVD stand, or I see somebody going, "Oh, Act of Valor," and you see that, I just think back, because no one's gonna believe the story anyways when its podcast comes out. No way. There's no way that these guys did that. Yeah. So if you ask anybody about the Bandito brothers,
all right,
you're gonna be like, what happened with them? What was that? Because if you look at it, aside from the dialogue, it looks like a normal demonstration video. It looked like a normal. And then you see
Jake, when Ken and I had lunch, I told him about Mr. Denver and our skeet shooting experience, and how Jake brings him up every time.
Well, it's hilarious because I was the one dicking around, fully honest.
He was. But I was
the whole time.
I was the guy who couldn't stop laughing.
Yeah, he looks over and he locked on to Marty like nobody. Yeah. So I was like, "Oh,
motherfucker!"
Marty's got that look. He's mischievous, though. Anyways, like if he was,
But I shouldn't. I caught eye contact with him. That was my problem.
Yeah,
and he's like, "Hey, can I go now?" And I told him I was so flat-footed. I had no response. I was like, "Okay."
See, you should have showed him your eyes, that cat eye, and then showed him your leg.
I should have just said, "Hold on, one more."
No, see my leg.
Well, if you could have talked earlier, you could have said, "Can I go now?" Oh, I mean, like you took our footage? Is that what you're talking about? You took SOCOM's footage? Is that what you're talking about? Wanting to go now?
Well, the greatest thing is he launched into his story about how when 9/11 went down and he was with this SEAL team, but they're in South America.
Right.
And they were in Costa Rica doing it.
Costa Rica, And his buddy was like, "It's time for payback." And they didn't never do anything.
Yeah.
And we looked at each other at the end of the story. I was like, that was it? That was all for that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I went to Costa Rica too. I got bit by sand fleas and got some artisan soap. Like in a fucking lecture series.
You might have had more action than
I definitely got more action. Everywhere I went, I didn't get offered anything. I was on the beach They saw a large white man and they were like, hookers.
Oh,
Hello?
yeah.
I'm
Oh,
like,
yeah.
"Hey, let's start with a little foreplay. Let's go with weed and shrooms first. Let's not just jump straight to hookers and blow, man.
You'd have been a king if you spoke Spanish. You'd have been a king. You'd have been pimps would have thought you were a competition
That's
if you were
true.
speaking Spanish.
That's
Your hacienda would have been being built.
Yeah. The compound would have been completed by now.
That would have been nice.
Ken, your last assignment was being attached to the Psychological Operations Commandant's Office at the John F. Kennedy Special Warfare Center and School, assisting in establishing the RSOF recruiting engagement campaign with headquarters. Is that USA Special Operations Command?
Yeah, it's US. Yeah, USASOC. It's United States Army Special Operations Command. Yep.
Okay. And you retired in December 2018.
That's it.
Now, the cool stuff, well, that was all cool, but the fun stuff is you're currently the voice of Sergeant's Time and the Monday edition on WTF Nation Radio, where you go by the infamous call sign ICE.
Yeah, that was not given to me. Everybody knows the rules of a call sign. It's given to you by the kids, and right. I said, "Are you serious, ICE?" I feel like I'm a fucking 80s villain or some shit like that. So, or I'm like when you order a Top Gun on Wish. You know what I mean? I'm Val Kilmer.
That's right.
So it's like, are you really? Because my fake book, because at the time I was running, I had to be hidden. Nobody knew who I was. I was
right.
I was an admin and for about a year and a half or so with WTF Moments, and then I became a host, a broadcaster, I guess you'd say, on WTF Nation Radio, and I had to use a different Facebook, I guess burner account. Yeah.
A burner account.
I'll admit it. I mean, are you allowed here to say that you have more than one Facebook account? Anyways,
I don't know.
And so
what have you done?
Well, see, in part of my old work, I had other Facebook accounts, but it wasn't public. It was for dealing with bad guys and shit posting on them and stuff like that. So I didn't really have that. I didn't have any social media presence at all with like my name, Ken Ramos, until like at least the end of 2013, beginning of 2014. So
wow, I can't believe we've been doing it for that long. That's amazing.
That long? It seems like it's that short. There's people who have been around with Facebook since it started, and they're like, they looked through my Facebook posts and found out that I said something messed up. Using a 2023 epic.
I meant doing
WTF Radio.
Yeah. Not having Facebook, but they have WTF Radio.
Oh yeah. It's been a minute.
Let me ask you about that. So, were you doing a podcast and they found you and brought you on, or they bring you on and then you did a podcast for them?
Well, I guess everyone has a villain story. Origin story. It was basically
and you got the call sign for it.
Exactly.
Ice.
Hey, ice. Shut up. Anyways, what got me connected to U.S. Army WTF Moments was I was coming back from a meeting. I was a first sergeant at the time, and I was coming back from a meeting, and I saw a kid. In full Army dress uniform. He had his Class A's on with his jump boots on and his beret.
Oh wow!
And he was mowing the fucking grass. He was mowing the lawn.
Shit!
He was a combination. Now look, I get fucking with Joe's and I get fucking with doing a little hazing. But it costs money to get your fucking uniforms fixed up. It's even worse when you see a kid, he was a specialist and he probably was a sergeant and got busted down. But it takes a minute. It's like you're ruining a kid's uniform. Choose another avenue.
He's going to sweat through that thing. He's going to sweat through his beret. Grass stains all over it. His jump boots are not going to be polished anymore because he's making them. So I took a picture of it and then I was just stewing. I was like literally just man, I was fucking stewing. Not to bring the mood down, but I just lost a friend and he took his own life. And that's why I got on Facebook, is because somebody said, hey, I came back from my dark world at SOCOM and I came back to Fort Bragg, now Fort Liberty. And I was like, we need to go hang out with so-and-so. Let's go hang out. Anybody hear about so-and-so? Oh, nice.
And everyone's looking at me like, Kenny, he took his life. It was all over Facebook.
Ah, Jesus.
So then at that point I was like, man, I need to get on the net because, I got to keep up with the times and all that. I mean, I don't want to bring the story down, but that's what got me on a normal Facebook account. And then as I'm, one of my soldiers had up on the team room, U.S. Army WTF moments. So I said, fuck this. I'm going to send this picture to these guys and said, look at this is fucked up. Look at these guys. These guys are, whoever this leader is a shit leader. So I sent the picture in all that. And then I started following the page, and dude, the page is just, I mean, it's matured a lot from back in the day, but it was just, hey, look at this leader. He's fucked up. And they would just like post a picture of the leader. Yeah. And you're like, wow,
it's hilarious.
It's awesome. It's like, okay, it's not a bit really a, it's okay. It's a good meme page. I don't mean, it's highlighting some things.
Marty still does that shit. I sent him a picture with my damn cover on inside, and he got all over me. Like, God damn it. That was 1982 for Christ's sake. What the hell? I was a young airman. I had a fucking hat on.
Sit with your cover inside.
You send that with a Kodak carousel slideshow projector or something?
Yeah.
So I sent the pic in, and no big deal. And then I'm following other pages and stuff like that. And then they had hey, would you like to join the team?
Oh, no shit.
And I'm like, hell yeah, I'd like to join the team.
Yeah.
I've been trolling bad guys on social media forever. And now I get to troll Army bad guys for social media. Where do I sign up? So I gave them the information and gave them, they had a little, hey, who you are. I mean, they had to verify who I was. And then the team at the time, I mean, you got to remember too, the team's matured out. So some people have left, some people are still there. I'm one of the few that's still there from what they say the old school. And I was like, yeah, you need to get another Facebook account because they're gonna know it's you, and the Army's not gonna like you, posting all this stuff. So
that's true, because you were still in.
Yeah, I was still in. Right. So I picked a name that was Eisen. And that was the name that, I was part of the first Armor Division. I looked at it in German, iron is Eisen. So I was like, okay. Oh. Ken Eisen, that's the name. That's my moniker I'll use. And then, of course, not realizing that I'm an old hanging out with the kids, they're little freaking clowns. We're like, oh, Eisen, what kind of name is that? Blah, blah, blah. Start calling you Ice. I'm like, shut up. And then about a year or so later, they're like, hey, we heard you did some radio work. We heard you did some sort of multimedia stuff. You want to be a podcaster, broadcaster on this thing we're starting up called WTF Nation Radio. It's already up, but we need somebody to help. So yeah, sure. Wow. So
that's pretty cool.
That was it. And then the next thing you know, I'm running the damn station, and now I'm part of the leadership team for WTF Moments. So it's I look back and I'm like, damn, that's
and he's retired, and that's all he does.
Yeah.
That's what you get for stepping up.
Yeah. That's all I do. This is all I do. I shit post, throw some memes up. I might, I don't know, maybe I might sell some t-shirts or something like that to keep other revenue streams going. But yeah, it's
cool,
been fun.
Man.
It's been fun.
That's pretty cool. Okay. Thanks, Ken. That's a good rundown. We could go on and on with you, but there's pressing history to take care of.
Yes.
History.
Yes.
Pressing.
This one, gentlemen, is going to be incredibly cool because we were all alive during this historic event.
Oh.
Yes.
You chose one in the latter part of the century this time.
Right. We were all alive. Let's see if you remember it. So August of 76, a little tree incident occurred at the DMZ.
Just to clarify, Eric,
yes,
I was
sir.
born in 78.
Oh, shit. We just switched you.
And Ken, let me give you this this little precursor warning.
I forgot you're so goddamn young.
Don't ask a lot of questions about what happened.
Oh, surface knowledge only.
Gotcha.
That goes for me too.
That goes for me too.
So a little background for you. 23 years after the end of the Korean War, the peninsula appeared poised to erupt in war because of a Korean tree incident. A lot of stuff was going on between Washington, actually the Washington Special Action Group, the WSAG, and the rhetoric coming out of North Korea. They were bowed, tensions were high, things were getting crazy. The North Koreans were continually accusing of new weapon systems and creating a lot of high tensions. So in the spring of 76, the North Korean government broadcast near daily propaganda claiming we are committing aggression and threatening peace.
Ooh, that's what Ken would have been doing.
Yeah.
Had he been on the North Korean side.
Yeah.
So at the same time, during this tense situation, a small group of U.S. and South Korean troops set out on a simple mission to cut back a tree in the jointly controlled zone. The tree obstructed the view from nearby observation towers. About 15 North Korean soldiers approached and demanded the group stop trimming the tree. When the group refused, the North Koreans attacked with crowbars, clubs, and axes.
Shit.
Right?
Yeah,
Not even weapons.
Crowbars? They don't even have cars
Axes.
up there.
And axes too. Yeah, axes.
Yeah. So two U.S. Army officers were killed. Four other U.S. soldiers and 4 South Korean soldiers were wounded.
Damn.
So that calmed the situation a little bit after it was all said and done. However, that same Washington group met on August 18th, and they said, all right, what are we going to do? Bill Clements, who was the defense secretary at the time, asked, wasn't that a routine operation keeping the area clear? The answer was yes. WSAG members judged the North Koreans authorized an attack on any group of Americans or South Koreans who were vulnerable, and the North Korean soldiers likely saw the tree trimming group as a target of opportunity. President Ford tasked the WSAG to think about what would be the best response. The SAG met the next day. They had already decided that the U.S. and South Korean forces should cut down the tree entirely. The question was whether we'd follow a diplomatic route, informing the North Koreans of their plans, or going ahead and cut the tree without warning. They sought the approval from Ford to conduct a B-52 flyover at the same time the tree was being cut down to further demonstrate the U.S. military might.
Wow.
And finally, they developed initial plans to move a naval task force in from the Sea of Japan, fly in 11 F-111s from Idaho, and even developed a plan to bomb North Korean barracks. Okay.
Wow.
So this was all in response. The bottom line, the Americans and the South Koreans swiftly cut down the tree. The North Koreans were scared and agreed to dismantle 2 North Korean guard posts. The plan to bomb the barracks was eventually scuttled, despite having the support of Clements and Kissinger. Kissinger blamed the decision to forego the barrack strike on Ford's presidential election speech that Americans would not be in combat anywhere in the world during that time. However, during the August 25th, 1976 WSAG meeting, the policymakers continued planning for the response in case North Korea came back at them. So the incident occurred on the 18th. On the 21st was the show of military might and coming back and cutting the tree completely down. I visited that place in 1987, and it was pretty badass. The
Really?
tree stump, yeah, it has an actual plaque at the tree stump now. Pretty cool.
You know what really happened, though? They sent the most famous Air Force cop ever, Chuck Norris, up into North Korea.
Yeah. For
So-
sure.
There's a whole diorama of this
If you look at that,
actual DMZ
the
museum.
picture that he sent in
remember
chat, he sent it in the chat. If you look at that picture, that's what I was laughing about. It's
You know,
ridiculous.
as soon as Eric mentioned it, I was like, holy crap. They have this at the museum. And it was like a claymation diorama play out. I was like, oh, there's the murder scene. And then, oh, look at this. And then they cut down the tree. There's like,
I almost looks like a shot of a robot chicken video or something like that.
it does.
You know?
It's like
It's pretty amazing how many pictures and video they actually have of the actual killing and the attack.
Wow.
They have actual footage.
Well, yeah.
That
And
one dude
when I was
bottom of the
there-
corner running too.
Yeah. You couldn't go to the actual tree. I mean, I was still on our side looking, but you could see it in the distance. You couldn't visit it. It was in
Well,
that.
the stump, right? The
Yeah.
stump, right?
And
Yeah,
it, but
other
it,
than
it's got
Marty's leg, it's the coolest stump in
Fair
the
enough.
world.
Fair enough. Thank you for that. I appreciate
Second coolest stump.
it.
August 21st, 1976. That was
Eric, that may be one of your better ones. That may actually be one of your better ones. So
That was a good one.
that was a good one. Okay, let's jump into a few news stories here. Let's start off with some good ones, right? We got a couple soldier medal recipients, right?
I like it.
So remind everyone, it's the Army Soldier's Medal for Heroism was awarded to any member of the armed forces who, while serving with the Army, distinguishes themselves by heroism, not involving actual conflict with an enemy. Right? So these were a couple of weeks ago, but we've gotten into the habit of at least bringing out some soldier medal stuff or some heroic stuff that happens off when they're not doing duties. Right.
Can't be all that.
Well, yeah, you go through all the news and it's like, oh, this commander, you do it again. This guy's getting court-martialed. That guy got relieved from commanding that boat. That guy's being brought up on sexual charges. Like, holy shit, all the military news. It's really depressing. But the first one here is from the Army Times. It's how paratroopers combat medic training saved lives during a shooting. All right. Let me see if I can bring. So this is the 82nd Airborne guy that we're talking about. In June 2021, then Second Lieutenant Joseph Guerra went out with friends to celebrate recently commissioning as Army officers. Guerra enlisted in the Army in June 2010 as a combat medic. Shortly after completing the Army's Green and Gold to earn his bachelor's degree and become an officer, Guerra would use his medic skills on the battlefield, but in a civilian active shooter situation on June 11, 2021 in Columbus, Georgia. Guerra had just finished dinner with his fellow soldiers and was preparing to go to another establishment when a gunman opened fire. This man about 10 feet behind us started firing upon us and everything. And, I pushed one of my friends down, jumped on top of her, and then the man had emptied out all his rounds and everything that he had. Guerra said before a ceremony last Friday at Fort Liberty that recognized him for his actions 2 years ago. Guerra said that after the gunman fled the scene, he started checking on those around the scene and noticed one of his friends was shot. So he started treating him. And then we started to try to leave. And that's when I got a phone call from another friend because they all got scattered. And another friend told me that another buddy was shot.
Damn.
Guerra went back to his truck. This is kind of amused me. Guerra went back to his truck to grab his aid bag with equipment. Okay. Well, I guess if you're always a medic, you should be prepared, right?
Hell yes.
So he grabbed it. He went out to treat his friends and another woman they didn't know who was found behind another restaurant with gunshot wounds. So that's 3. The soldier he originally shielded was an Army nurse. So she also helped as he treated the wounded. Guerra's actions saved the life of the soldier he shielded and the lives of 3 other victims, said Major General Christopher Laneve, commander of the 82nd Airborne Division, who presented Guerra with the Soldier's Medal during a ceremony on Friday, 11 August. So nice job, Lieutenant Guerra.
Yeah,
that's
nice,
awesome,
man. That's crazy.
All right, now for the second Soldier's Medal, we go to taskandpurpose.com. This Army, let me switch it out. So
I need to find an Army buddy who's a medic, man, just to go out with. In case shit happens, I got.
Yeah, but it almost seems like if you go
I have
out
one
with
of
a
those
medic,
guys.
something's bound to happen
I'm about
because
to
you're
say,
out with the medic.
How much you planning on? How much you drinking there, Eric? I mean, you're talking about, I'm gonna take a medic with me for what?
Ken, I gotta find a friend, man. I gotta find a friend.
I was trying to think of what kind of military equipment I had in my back seat.
Oh gosh, yeah.
Definitely not that.
Well, you got bug juice in your motorcycle bag, right?
That's true. Yeah.
A camo stick. Yeah.
All right, this one, Army Chief Warrant Officer 5 received the Soldier's Medal for saving people from a house fire. Now, this kind of starts off tame, but give it a second. It's awesome. On October 9th, last year, Chief Warrant Officer 5, Nigel Hubscher, and his family were returning from a trip when they saw a burning home in Bonifay, Florida. You know where Bonifay is, Eric?
I do. I've heard of it.
Years of Army training instantly kicked in for Hubscher, who ran towards the danger as his wife, Devi, called 911. In a matter of seconds, he helped 2 people escape the burning home before it was totally consumed by the fire. Hubscher wasted no time after he saw flames coming from the home. He jumped a locked gate to get to the home, where an elderly woman who looked confused came to the door. Hubscher helped her get away from the house and then went inside. Once he was in the house, he found an elderly man sleeping in a bed. He woke the man and repeatedly explained the home was on fire, but the man appeared not to understand what was happening. Meanwhile, the smoke had become thick black and the outside of the home had become fully enveloped by flames. So Hubscher led the elderly man to the door, but when he saw the flames across the doorway, he turned to go back to his bedroom. Outside, Florida Air National Guard Major Bradley Vaughn was now on the scene after his family had seen the fire. Vaughn was a senior air defense officer at the 601st Air Ops Center at Tyndall. By this point, the blaze had worsened considerably, and Devi, the chief warrant officer's wife, was on the phone with the 911 operator, yelled to Vaughn that her husband was inside the burning home. Vaughn, the major, tried to get to the home, but the heat and flames were too intense. He also heard popping noises that sounded like ammunition exploding. That's what he's like, oh, shit. Suddenly, Hubsher shoved the elderly man through the flames, and the two men escaped to the front yard. Second later, the house exploded.
Wow.
Vaughn then helped the man get to a safe distance from the inferno. The man was treated for burns. Both he and the women Hubsher helped get out of the house survived. Army Major General Michael McCurry, commander of the U.S. Army Aviation Center of Excellence, described Hubsher during Monday's awards ceremony as a hero that's living among us today. So he was awarded the Soldier's Medal on August 7th, 2023.
That's awesome.
Very cool.
That's awesome. I mean, the fact that a warrant officer is even seen getting anything in uniform is even incredible. So it's 2 feats right there: the Soldier's Medal and a W5, a CW5.
Well, they didn't mention that the chief got out of the car and first looked around for anybody that he could task to go into the house. He couldn't find anybody. He's like, "Fuck, I got to do it myself."
I heard some inside sources that he was. I think some sources were saying that he was using his large mug of coffee to keep the. That's why he didn't get burned as much. That's why he didn't sustain any injuries, because he was throwing coffee at the fire too.
That could
His hands were so calloused from years of carrying a hot cup.
Exactly.
So he was burn proof at that point.
He
was good.
Throwing some Cafe Bustelo on somebody will definitely keep the flames down.
Okay, I want to go to this, and I don't want to take away from her, but this next story is defense media activity. I don't know who that is. I don't know. Is that just a department that does that? The
DMA is basically where all the public affairs kids get their public affairs training.
Oh, okay.
Okay. They're the activity that runs DINFOS, which is the same. It's kind of like an offshoot. They've gone through so much reorganization anyway, so it's probably not what it used to look like from what I remember. But it's basically, if you are a kid wanting to know how to be a combat camera, or graphic artist or journalist or whatever, then you would go to a school run by the DMA. It would be it's almost like going to jump school. Everybody goes to jump school at the same spot. It's the same thing for
I gotcha
communications and public affairs people.
Well, they named a Stars and Stripes journalist as its NCO of 2022. Defense Media Activity recently named reporter Kelly Agee of Stars and Stripes Pacific its 2022 non-commissioned officer of the year. 2022, they're a little slow on that, right? But so good on her that she won it. But the way they wrote this, I was like, come on. So AG's a petty officer first class, a news reporter and photographer in Tokyo. She was selected for the award from among 7 nominees from the Air Force and Navy. In 2022, AG produced numerous news articles and photos, including the most. So you're in Tokyo. You got access to a lot of stories.
Was she covering all the guys on the outside of the balcony?
Marines on the ground.
I was going to say, all those guys. She had to be involved.
It seemed like every other week they're like, find another drunk Marine on a 3rd floor balcony.
Exactly.
So here's the story that they point out. She produced numerous news articles and photographs, including the most viewed news article in Stars and Stripes. The most viewed news article in Stars and Stripes that year. The removal of Little Debbie snacks from military commissaries.
What in-depth pictures did you have of that?
Hard hitting.
Empty honey bun box.
Hard hitting, gentlemen. Hard hitting.
I know that's not on her. I mean, that's on whoever wrote that up. So I don't take away from her. She did her job. But the fact that they mentioned that article first is what cracks me up. But she also reported on the deaths of family pets while in custody of Air Mobility Command. Did you see that story? how all these people who are PCS and keep losing their animals when they're flying military?
Hey, is she being transitioned over to Space Force?
Yeah, their animals are dying on the PCS flight.
Oh, on the flight.
Yeah. So
they're going to move her to Space Force, Marty. Move her to Space Force.
Move her to Space
Force. Our snack bars are fucking stocked. All right, there's no trauma in there. We got pockets. We got honey buns. We got honey buns with nuts.
Transition that shit.
Like I told you, Eric. They're toying around with letting these new recruits use the calculators, right?
Oh, yeah.
Have you seen that, Ken?
Yeah, I did. What's kind of like...
And I was like, what, are they going to make them all security forces now?
What?
He poked right there at my eye. Okay.
Well, I mean, in some of my air movement officer and jump master duties that I've pulled, I'll admit there's a time you have to pull a calculator out for some calculations for air load planning. You guys know that. If you're AMC if you're AMC qualified, man, and
I'm with you.
Yeah,
that's bad.
But not entrance. Not entrance. I had to be taught how to use a calculator being an AMC qualified, but entrance, all right, dumb shit. Just fucking see what you got. And then that was it. That was it. That was the litmus test. That's how you knew. I mean,
man.
If I had known you could use a calculator, I'd be like CW5 Hoopshire here, fucking rescuing old people in a fly. I'd be flying.
Couple soldier medals, right on, man.
Yeah, I'd be flying, man.
Oh, shit. Okay, so good on her. I'm glad she
of course. Yep.
Let's talk about Special Ops Command.
Oh,
all right. This just came out. I really didn't want to cover it, but it was just big. It just came out yesterday.
Yesterday,
right?
Exactly.
So this is I took this one from the Associated Press. I thought it was a little bit better written than the Stars and Stripes one. But female soldiers in Army Special Operations face rampant sexism and harassment, military report says. Now, as I read through this thing, I was like, okay, but if you walk up to any soldier, any airman, any Navy, and they're like, hey, what's wrong with your job? And they're like, I can't get promoted. They don't like me because I'm short, and they're like, this is all valid information, right?
Yeah.
That's kind of the impression I got out of this. I don't mean to take away from things that actually happen out there, but there is, I think, where you can kind of cross a line and give too much validity to it, right? But
I think,
anyway.
Yeah, I mean, but I think honestly, it's like you were just saying. If you're asking somebody that's pissed off that got passed over for a promotion or a team slot or a billet, there's going to be some jaded assholes in a fucking command and climate survey. And like
that guy they're pushed to Space Force.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's if the Space Force that's if the Army will release somebody to go to Space Force. Because I got friends that got their IST denied by the Army, and so they're like, oh, okay, cool. Then I'll just get out. Go guard with the Space Guard or Space Force Guard, and then go active duty. And I'm like, are you serious? You could do that? And I'm like, wow.
Let it go, baby.
Yeah, that's exactly. So look,
sit in front of a monitor.
Exactly. So here's my take on all that, though, is that they're only grabbing special forces.
That's what was interesting about this too.
Segment of it. SOF in the Army is what we call tribes. 3 tribes. We have special forces, we have psychological operations, and we have civil affairs. Those are the 3 tribes that are in RSOF, or Army Special Operations Forces, RSOF. Yeah. So those three tribes in civil affairs and in PSYOP, we've had women in combat leadership roles. I've had women team leaders under me when I was when I was a first sergeant, and they have gone and done stuff on mission, and it's been known that in Iraq and Afghanistan they've had PSYOP women team leaders or PSYOP women, even though the Army said we don't really have that, women aren't allowed in combat. I didn't realize that it was such a, how do I say this? I don't want to beat up my SF brothers, but God, there was some whining in there too. That was like, well, I'm not gonna have no woman join my team. Well, bro, the new USASOC, the new Special Operations Command Sergeant Major is a woman.
Welcome to the real world, man.
Yeah. You got to catch up. And here's the thing, and I'm glad I have some experience in the schoolhouse side of it. A lot of the women are beating some of the dudes in fucking their assessments and some of their physical entrance physical assessments, and their we have other, how do I say this? We have other challenges or games or puzzles, I guess you would say, without revealing too much, but that we have a selection process. All 3 tribes have a selection process, and I have seen women utterly destroy fucking guys in that physical portion of it. So it's like, I totally get the report and how it's saying, well, we got an issue in our soft. No, you have an issue in one subset group of dudes that are bitching about this shit. Yeah. And it's like, I'm not saying, I mean, it's hard to go back and forth on the women should be in combat. Women should not be in combat or whatever. Hey, that ship sailed, man. We've had women returning fire left and right. And now the way I see it, at the higher tier level of training, or a higher tier level of operating in an austere environment, women have been doing it. It's kind of like it's kind of, dude, that ship sailed.
Well, and we've had that conversation on here before. And I think if you have the first tribe that you were talking about, right? The operators. Yeah. If you have one standard to meet, whoever meets that standard is your best athlete, push them forward, man or woman, right?
Right.
But if they still do an adjusted scale, that's going to cause, if it was adjusted the other way, the women would be upset, right? So it's
you bring up a good point with that, is that I have had in my professional military education as well, we have had joint SF and PSYOP NCO courses, and I had a woman in my class, and they were really freaking fuming that we placed in the top 3 of a competition, a physical fitness competition. And even the first sergeant, to stroke their not stroke their ego, but to kind of like push them a little bit. These are the top 3. Everyone else below this line got beat by a girl. I mean, it was like that right there was like, it was like it's look, you're gonna the battle of the sexes has been going on for ages. We've always, right. I mean, come on, women make jokes about how we cook or how guys do this or how guys do that. Women are crazy, blah, blah, blah. Put your whatever women argument back and forth. We've all done it. Males and females done it. In the military, if a woman outrucks you, it has nothing to do with you, with her being the standard being low. 12 miles is 12 fucking miles. If she comes in before you,
right,
she's coming in before you. At this point, you're just being I don't want to sound like I'll say it. You're being a bitch about it. It's like, if she's on the team and she's proven herself and she's made it through all the wickets to graduate to get where she's at with you, at that point, her showing up is good enough. And now she has to prove herself, just like the men have to prove themselves, their worth, while being on a team. So I got frustrated because I didn't see the PSYOP or the CA side of the house. I only saw.
No. And in fact, they go down to, let's see this paragraph. The exhaustive report surveyed more than 5,000 people assigned to Army Special Operations Forces units, including 837 female troops and 3,200 male troops, and the rest were defense civilians. So we don't know where that breakdown is either.
Correct.
But it is revealed that the vast majority of the negative attitudes towards women serving in special operations, quote, unfortunately did come from senior non-commissioned officers. So it does seem to indicate that it is generational.
Yes.
Combat Command Sergeant Major Joanne Nauman. Is it Nauman? Is that how you pronounce it?
Nauman, yeah. Yep.
Said in a call with reporters about the findings. So we get that, right? I mean, you take an E7, E8. Well, I don't know so much nowadays, but you take an E7, E8 in the 80s, and that guy saw the end of Vietnam coming all the way through the 80s, and now he's integrated.
Mm-hmm.
I get it. He's like, oh, wait a minute.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not used to this, but they've been doing that. What they left that ban in 2013 or 2015, where they just said, hey, women can do almost any job, right? Any job you qualify for, you can go do it.
It was about that time, but also there's also historical precedents of women completing, and the Army doesn't disclose this or nor is very open about it.
Routinely,
But there was a woman who tried out and earned herself a Green Beret, but because she was a woman, she was not authorized to wear it. We have women that are assigned to tier high speed units, like the units that we all see glamorized on TV, Delta Force guys, operators, operators and operators. There are women in that unit. There are, and I don't know specifically what they do, but I do know of one, or I know one, or that as a matter of fact, she was already in SOP. She was a PSYOPer, and she went to that program, and that she just disappeared behind the fence, and that was it. It was like
I almost think too is that, yes, we've had women complete those courses, right? Some people complete a Ranger school. I think the one has completed Special Forces. Yep. But sometimes we go like, we'll see, women can do it. And I was like, well, wait a minute. They are the exceptional women who did it.
Yes.
And the men who completed, they are the exceptional men.
Yes.
So those who do that, they're special. They are a cut above.
Yep.
That's a young person's game. That is not somebody with bad knees like me. So,
but ultimately, you close your eyes, the blood is all the same color. The blood is all the same color.
Right.
Yeah, right.
Bleeding red.
But having a female counterpart in some situations, like Green Beret situations, where you are potentially within the civilian population, having a female counterpart, that would help you potentially blend in.
Yes. That's exactly what some of those roles. That's exactly
normally open.
Yep. Right. Exactly. That's what some of those roles that they're filling, or they have filled before unofficially. Does that make sense? Before we made it official to say, now we have women in SOF. We've always had women in SOF.
It was happening. Yeah,
it was already kind of happening already with women in those roles. And like you were saying about it too, Marty, about the exceptional men and exceptional women. These are women that'll kick my ass. Kill all of our asses. These are women that will hump a ruck for 40 miles, put it down, pick up a weapon, shoot no problem, and then we'll do a freaking CrossFit competition or some shit after. These aren't like, and as another thing too is that in that study in that write-up that the AP did, there are women that say that they would rather be in RSOF though than back in regular Army or being in the regular forces.
I can see that too. Right.
And that's what I said to a lot of people. It's like, I'd rather have a bad day in RSOF than any day in big Army. After you've been in that world and you get that latitude of being a leader, or you get to how you plan your missions, or what you're doing mission planning with, or who you get to work with, where do you deploy to? I don't think I would be able to deploy anywhere that I was able to deploy in SOF than I did if I was in the Army.
Well, that's like what I told Jake. I was like, I'd rather have the worst day in Space Command than the best day as a security forces.
Amen.
Well, that's the difference between sitting there and doing something.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well,
let me see.
The worst day in Space Command is a crappy lumbar support. That's the worst day.
I'm about to say, they don't give you guys these baller ass freaking gaming chairs, Jake? Is that what it is?
It's fantastic.
Sometimes the handrest is broken.
Oh, dude, that's the worst, man. Or you adjust the height and it doesn't work.
Oh, man.
Or you sit in it and somebody has leaned it all the way back and you almost fall over. It's like, oh, that's a bad day.
That's PTSD. That's 10%. Right?
That could be 10%. That could be 10%.
But I think ultimately James Brown said it the best, right? This is a man's world, but it's nothing without a woman.
That's
look at you.
Look at you,
well
look at that, man. Well said. Yeah, there's a lot of angst and anxiety about just how you write something like that, because nowadays the military will knee jerk to anything reaction. Well, pretty much reactionary to a lot of stuff that is said in the media. So like this conversation right now, we're shooting the shit, and you just said that James Brown line. If you were a leader, Jake, and then they'd be like, "What does he mean by that? What do you mean? What do you?"
Exactly.
And you're like, "That's not what the context Jake was trying to say." No, that's what it meant. I guarantee.
It's a black thing. It's a black thing.
No, stop it. So you're being sexist, misogynist, racist, whatever IST you want to add, ableist, because you're talking about chairs. I mean, everything is freaking, and you can't please anybody in something that is like legit. Hey, I totally get it. It's again, if a woman wants to go to Ranger School, wants to go to selection for any of the 3 tribes, and she makes it, God bless. Just like I would say, God bless you to any guy making it.
That is awesome.
Because
I want to believe that if the standard's all the same, whoever meets it, man or woman, once you get past that line, you're just looking and going, "Good job, good job, good job."
Exactly.
Let's go together.
Exactly.
Because now you all got a foundation. You're like, we all made it past.
Yep.
You didn't do female standard points and get through it. You did. We all did the same. So hopefully that's where we go. So we're going to. Hopefully we go towards. What was the damn alien movie where they're showering together, right? The sci-fi movie.
Starship Troopers.
Starship Troopers.
Right?
That joke has been in ever since we've had the discussion about it. That joke's been in about. I mean, hell, even right now with women are now artillerysts. I can't call them. Somebody said artillerist one time to me, and I thought that was cool, like an artist. But not instead of saying artilleryman or red leg, you just say artillerist. Like,
I don't know. I was an artillery, and I've never called myself an artillerist.
Well,
I throw bombs.
You gotta get with the times there, Marty. That's what the kids are saying. It's like the ones that are.
Guess what your official call sign is going to be?
Artillerist. Exactly.
All right, so since we got Ken on here, let's move to a little bit of fun here. So it's an old article. It's a couple years old. It was from businessinsider.com. Sometimes you find the weirdest stories in the weirdest military stories in non-military publications.
Exactly.
This happened to be one of them. So we're not going to do an all-military selection, but we are going to read about these three legendary leaders who made America's Special Operations Unit into the elite forces they are today. And Ken, you can pick a winner, or you can just choose who you like out of these three. All right.
Okay. Can I say it now? Can I just go ahead and
No, you have to we have to present an argument to you.
Gotcha. Go for it. Go for it. Okay, go ahead.
All right. Eric, don't go long-winded on your argument either.
Well, Jake's already was trying to take my firepower early on. You're trying to hoax and shit. So mine's fairly easy. Ken, I think you're going to agree with me right from the get-go. When you were called the father of Delta Force, how can you not be the most badass guy on the planet, right? Charles Beckwith, Colonel Blister Charles Beckwith. Okay. After graduating from Georgia, Charles Beckwith turned down a chance to play football for the Green Bay Packers. Again.
Wow.
Right? Turn down, you're the man. Turn down the Packers.
What year?
I graduated? It doesn't say. You're going too far. You're diving deep.
Oh, yeah. Sorry.
Damn it, man. Damn it, man.
1950.
Leather helmet era?
Yeah.
Wasn't quite that far back. He chose instead to serve his country in the Army. He deployed to Vietnam, the 7th Special Forces Group, to support Operation Hotfoot, which was a covert mission to train and advise the Laotian military forces. So when he returns from Vietnam, Beckwith has joined an exchange officer program, which led members of the British Spatial Air Service on counterterrorism operations in Malaya. There he developed the idea for creating Project Delta, a special forces counterintelligence detachment. He created a selection process to find the right candidates and then assumed command of its operation in South Vietnam. While serving with Project Delta, Beckwith, here's my boy, took a 50 caliber bullet to his abdomen, putting him in, right? I thought a 50 cal would destroy his whole stomach.
Not Beckwith's stomach.
Yeah, exactly.
He's the Black Knight in Monty Python. He's a flesh wound. Flesh wound. Keep going.
That's another plus, and it keeps running. Putting him in such a critical condition that the surgeons deemed him as beyond saving, but he made a full recovery. When promoted to lieutenant colonel, Beckwith returned to Vietnam with the 2nd Battalion, 327th Infantry, 1st Brigade, 101st Airborne Division, where his unit fought to establish Fire Base Bastogne. I mean, the guy has been in the shit from the get-go. On November 19th, 1977, Charles Beckwith co-created Delta Force to address the increasing threat of global terrorism. So he saw the need for this force early on. He led the elite. He led the elite unit on its first mission to rescue 54 hostages held at the American Embassy in Tehran. Though the mission failed, Beckworth's recommendations led to the creation of SAR and JSOC. Beckworth retired in 81 and then wrote a memoir about his time creating and leading Delta Force. He passed away.
Is that what Delta was created for? Hostage rescue?
Specifically, it was counterterrorism, because you got to remember back in the day, it was that.
70s was heyday for terrorism.
Yeah, right? it was like, well, I mean, nobody expected them to run fucking planes in the buildings. You know what I mean? Everyone knew that if you went in there, you shot up, you had a gunfight with them, and then that was it. I mean, you got, what was it, Operation Nimrod? Wasn't it with the SAS stormed the embassy?
The first successful rescue.
Correct. Which was pretty much what Beckwith was modeling Delta Force to be, and so which I and Eric, I'm right there with you, is my pick already. I mean, you already only because the other individual. I mean, what I'm just saying, he's the fucking father of it, and think about it.
Valid,
you know.
Right?
Yeah, but now you're taking all the suspense out of it.
But
sorry,
like to go.
Good pick,
exchange officer and go through SAS training, through those guys. Those guys were dealing with
right.
We say counterterrorism, but what we forget is that it was the IRA blowing up shit in downtown London.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Right? Like, can you imagine a group of freaking people in Virginia blowing the fuck out of stuff in downtown DC?
Yeah.
And people, political individuals in DC scared to get in their cars, scared to go down specific routes, scared
Look at all that training we got from Europe in the 70s and 80s, where they were like, they put a bomb on a signpost, and just time it for the guy to go by. And you're like, oh,
dude, no, you're right. Yeah, I mean, well, now that's Antifa,
hardcore.
So that's a different conversation. I think it's Antifa.
Nice. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Our own internal issues with homegrown terrorism, or whatever you want to call it. I would say just the offshoot of it. But it's.
Oh yeah, look at that.
Yeah, so that's
into that window. That's nice.
So like Jake said, though, he went through SAS. He went through there. It's like being part of Delta Force and then going to another elite selection just to go do Delta. I mean, it's like now
just learn from them.
Just to learn from them. Like, dude, you already went through one selection. I mean, god dang, dude, you gonna make another one? Yeah. Shit.
Well, his incursion was that in Malaya. You're deep in the jungle. You're in the shit with that too. So not only is he talking urban environments, he's talking jungle, how to address it in multiple environments.
Right.
So he brought back some crazy addresses to us, man.
Jake, let me go next, because I like Bargewell, right? But let me read about General McChrystal, because General McChrystal doesn't have like any of the acts of heroism or anything. He has more organizational skills, shall we say?
But to be fair, I think Brad Pitt played him in a movie, though.
He did.
In
War Machine.
War Machine.
Yep, I love that role.
He was really great in it, and it
was good.
It was better than I thought it was. I don't know how overblown his staff was compared to how they portrayed in the movie and what really happened. But the gist of it was there, right? He's got a little cocky, or his guys did, whatever it was. He probably shouldn't have criticized Obama, but that'll do it.
He actually criticized Biden, not Obama. He
really?
Oh yeah, that's what got him in hot water, because a Rolling Stone reporter.
Yep. I have that Rolling Stone.
Oh no, shit, you do? Oh wow.
I kept that. I was like, oh fuck, this is crazy.
Yeah. He was shit posting. She was just talking. It's like blah blah blah. Yeah, Biden's an idiot or something like that in passing her.
It was all because of the volcano. There was that volcano in Iceland that grounded everything in Europe. So all those guys were stuck in one location.
Oh, yeah. Right.
Had to get to the next location. So they all got a van, piled in, including the reporter, to the van, and freaking road tripped across Europe. And anytime you're road tripping across Europe, definitely some ships are going to get sunk. There was
nothing off the record.
Dude. right?
Yeah,
You're
exactly.
spending 3 days in a van
that guy
with all
screwed him.
those guys.
Absolutely.
They're going to talk some shit.
Yep.
Yeah. McChrystal he graduated West Point, got commissioned in 76. After 78, after he got first lieutenant, he enrolled in Special Forces School. He commanded Green Beret Unit 79 to 80. In 90, he earned a master's degree in National Security and Strategic Studies from the Naval War College and was assigned to Joint Special Operations Command, a standing task force to integrate special ops units such as Delta Force, SEALs, and 160th SOAR. With the outbreak of the Persian Gulf in 91, McChrystal was deployed to Saudi Arabia, and JSOC oversaw the search for Iraqi mobile Scud missile launchers. For most of the remainder of the 90s, McChrystal held commands in the 82nd and the 75th Ranger Regiment. In 96, he was promoted full colonel, and shortly after, he had begun a year of study at the John F. Kennedy School of Government at Harvard University. Is that different than the place you were assigned, Ken?
Yeah. I want to go to Harvard. What's up with that?
When the U.S. invaded Iraq in 2003, McChrystal was a rising star. He assumed command of JSOC and went after Iraq's growing Islamist insurgencies. With the motto, quote, "It takes a network to defeat a network," McChrystal put liaisons everywhere from the CIA to conventional military units, putting JSOC at the center of a web of units and agencies that shared intelligence like never before and acted fast. So, for example, a Delta Force troop would hit a target early one night, gather intel, and conduct another raid immediately afterward, sometimes hitting 3 targets all over Iraq in the same night. That would put you on your heels.
Oof.
Yeah. Instead of hitting them, letting them react, and then taking your time, they were just going boom, boom, boom. As a result, JSOC dismantled the insurgency and killed al-Qaeda's top man in Iraq, Abu Musab al-Zarqawi. In 2009, McChrystal assumed command in Afghanistan, where he devised a counterinsurgency strategy. Following General David Petraeus' example in Iraq, McChrystal argued for a surge of troops to defeat the Taliban. So, and then it just peters out. It was like, in the end, he persuaded Obama and the Pentagon, despite the political cost of sending tens of thousands of additional troops to what many saw as a forgotten war. And it worked, right? For a period of time, they were able to push him back.
Well, I mean, Obama even said that I didn't fire him for that. I fired him because of differences in war strategy in Afghanistan. I'm like, okay, all right.
Yeah.
So you're trying to say that Obama was trying to end Infinity War earlier? Is that what you're trying to say? You know what I mean?
Yeah. But yes, he eventually got relieved from that, he got relieved after he and his aides were quoted disparaging the Obama administration in a Rolling Stone article. McChrystal retired with the defeat of al-Qaeda in Iraq and JSOC's renovation as his greatest achievements, and with his place secure as one of America's greatest warriors. And that's according to former Secretary of Defense Robert Gates. So, organizationally, yeah, he did some badass stuff in a chaotic time when somebody needed to do something.
Yes, so. and even in my experiences in Africa, I saw his pretty face in a brief in a teleconference. Yes, that's how involved he was. He was involved in making sure that the reach the reach of AQ or Al Qaeda, whatever network at the time, it went through different names. It didn't go down to Al Shabaab, which is the African version of an AQ.
Oh yeah, right.
And so he kept his finger on the pulse, even in my time in Africa when I was there. And like I said, I saw his face on a teleconference, and he was dialed in to that just as much as he was in the Middle East.
All right, Jake, tell us about what's his name? Bargewell, right?
Yeah. Don't pretend like you don't even know. What's his name?
Take my.
I'm trying to set you up, man.
Yeah, Eldon Bargewell, right?
Nothing is scripted on this show.
Eric, you mentioned that he was the father of Delta, but we all strive to make our fathers proud and potentially exceed the level of our fathers, correct? I don't know whether he did that or not, but Bargewell enlisted in the Army in 68 in the dead middle of the Vietnam War and was like, I would like some of that, and I would like also special forces. So he went straight in and enlisted in 67. In 68, he went through special forces qualification course, came out, went directly into the Vietnam War, right? One of the first, or a couple of the missions he went on, got shot in the chest by clearing a village, got shot in the chest. It was stopped by his gear.
Oh, shit.
That's like a prerequisite to be a badass. You have to get shot at least once.
Yes.
I'm a badass.
At least once, right?
That got stuck in his chest rig in like a freaking hook or something like that. I can't remember.
It's crazy how I'm like it. I don't know. I don't know, 1 in a million, but they were clearing the NVA camp. He got shot. It stuck in his chest rig. They ended up clearing the camp. A few years later, he's still doing these ops. He's clearing all these camps. He's going on cross-border raids, grabbing intel from Laos, Cambodia, all that. A couple years later, he's on a raid. He gets shot in the face, and then he carries on. All right. And so his ability to recover and carry on allowed his team to exfiltrate. The coolest thing ever, though, he gets shot in the face and his scar makes it a permanent scowl. Like, he is just hardcore.
Nice.
So if you look at his picture, he's got one side of his mouth closed and the other side just permanently like Clint Eastwood scowl. It's great.
Like the reverse Joker look or some shit instead of smiling.
Yeah, that's right. Huh?
So he's just sitting there hanging out. So one of the constant things multiple people had said about him is that he always strived to learn, and he always, in his positions of leadership, he always told his guys, if you're in your downtime, practice the basics, practice the fundamentals. And multiple people like commented, one hell of a soldier. I'm going to have to look up who John Stryker is. Sorry, John Stryker Meyer. I'm not familiar with you. Evidently Green Beret legend, but spoke incredibly highly of him. Always wanted to do the job. Yeah, see?
Yeah.
Picture. Always wanted to do the job better. He went on then to commission, got out in 73, came back in 73 as an officer, and went straight back into Special Forces, went into Delta Force, eventually became one of the leaders of SOCOM, all that stuff. But one of the other stories that's entertaining, taking from the SAS training and the hostage rescue and all that, learning from what they had taught and doing operations with them. In 89, Bargewell commanded Operation Acid Gambit. It was a rescue of Kurt Muse, a CIA operative held captive by Panamanian forces, within a prison, right? So Lieutenant Colonel, right? In my mind, I don't see a lieutenant colonel
in the field. 2, riding a little bird on the way in. One of the other little birds gets damaged, crashes. He's like, I got you. He exposed himself to enemy fire, provided cover with machine gun while the other troops extracted from the damaged helicopter. So as a lieutenant colonel, he's still walking the walk, brother.
Rocking the walk with his scowl, man. Right?
Right.
It was one of Delta Force's first successful hostage rescues, and it established U.S. military as top hostage rescue outfit. I don't know about that, according to the Insider. SAS is still got a long history of crazy stuff. But,
well, the Israelis have done some pretty good stuff with hostage rescue.
Yeah,
too,
exactly. So. Right. So Bargewell went on to command SOC Europe and had JSOC and SOCOM. Then he retired in 2006 after almost 40 years.
God,
bless.
dang, man.
Right, 40 years of that. And
It's
we're
like some of these guys seem to be preordained. You are going to live 40 years under the threat of death every day, but you're going to be fine.
Yeah.
It's preordained, man.
He 40 years, but not just 40 years, 40 years in special ops.
Yeah, it wasn't like 40 years in space, right? He was actually doing shit.
He enlisted and then went right to special ops.
Yeah.
And then commissioned, went right back to special ops.
Yeah. Right.
So awards, Distinguished Service Cross, the Distinguished Service Medal, Defense Distinguished Service Medal, Army Distinguished Service Medal, Defensive Superior Service Medal, Legion of Merit, Bronze Star, Purple Heart, and during Vietnam, all the other individual operations in the middle, Just Cause, Acid Gambit, and then right back into Afghanistan.
Yeah.
He got no break. So, yeah. He probably didn't want to break.
I mean, I think those guys are just made for that mentality, made for that. And a lot of those guys potentially probably couldn't. That's what they did, right?
That's who they were. That's what they did.
They couldn't imagine retiring and being part of the Petunia of the Month Club or volunteering at the local library.
Yeah.
And traumatizing some kids with war stories or something, like
that's crazy.
That's what they did.
Well,
he'd be John J. Rambo, just lost on the outside. So just got to keep going.
What sucks is that when he died in 2019, he died of he rolled his lawnmower off an embankment. And
Are you serious?
Wow. Oh, wow.
The hell of a way to go.
April.
That's like a deal with the devil. You're like, you get to live this glorious life.
Yeah, dude, exactly.
You get shot in the chest and it by chance caught in your chest rig.
Yeah.
You got shot in the mouth.
You get shot in the face.
Yeah.
And you're like, all right, let's keep going, boys.
That's crazy.
Also, the John Deere malfunctions on him, and that's it.
Yeah, and that's it. Yeah. Fucking April 2019, he
wow.
He had a fucking, they said it was tragic. It was just a freak accident. They said the lawnmower rolled over onto an embankment and that was it. That was what.
Unbelievable, man.
Yeah. No kidding.
Hopefully he was sauced 3 sheets to the wind.
He
was driving his lawnmower as his mode of transportation to the local VFW.
Yeah, he had a couple of cold ones and he was just enjoying his beer before.
I like to think he was drunk and he was jousting with his neighbor on the lawnmower.
Yeah. It's the same kind of stuff. Yeah. Patton's another example, man. You have a guy at the front and then gets run over by a Jeep or some shit?
That was a conspiracy against
Patton. That's another conspiracy. Yeah, it's like he got T-boned in Heidelberg when he was driving around.
Yeah, nothing happened to the driver, who they couldn't find afterwards, too. So.
Yeah. It's like, okay.
Yeah, that was that's dirty pool.
Are we blaming Ike or no or what?
Oh, we're jumping on that, man. Oh, yeah.
That's there we go.
I'm just kidding. I have no idea. I just wanted to throw somebody under the bus.
Montgomery was probably the better choice.
It was funny. They for a period of time around 92, it was around 91, 92 when they were doing BRAC, and they had retired 2nd Armored Division, right? Yep. And then for whatever reason, they brought it back. Like they were like, oh shit, we probably shouldn't have done this. So they reflagged 2nd Armored Division. And they moved us from Fort Polk and we reflagged as 2nd Armored. Well, I got to be an escort for some of the VIPs coming back. And Patton's grandson, I got to escort him, right? Wow. And the 2nd Armored historian was like, now look, I was a lieutenant at the time. They were like, don't ask him about the movie. And I was like, actually, I was thinking about asking him about the movie. It's like, don't ask him about the movie. Because I think the family protested the movie and they tried to stop its release. I don't know any more details than that, but that's what he told me.
Wow.
So, and didn't he refuse the Academy Award for that? George C. Scott did, I think.
Well, I think,
but I think that also stemmed from I'm not sure what it was.
There was some drama too, because a lot of the advisement for the movie Patton was by Bradley. And I think there was some beef with Patton's family and Bradley's family, I think.
Yeah, there was and everybody hated Patton because he was rich anyway. So there's always that. Right?
Was he rich? Really? He was
rich? His family was
rich.
rich. Yeah, he was a rich son of a bitch. So
he would PCS himself because literally, yeah. He would PCS himself because he didn't trust the military guys. And then he would have his own uniforms made.
There's a lot of accuracy to that movie too, that he designed his own uniform and he wore it around. So
had his own custom pistols made.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, he had the pearl handled pistols. Yeah,
45s.
Were they pearl or ivory? Because he had that line, right? He said only pimps in New Orleans have. I can't remember if it was pearl or ivory. I think it was ivory. But anyway, I digress. I think that's rounds complete, gentlemen. Hey, Ken, tell us how we can listen to you.
Oh, wow. You can follow us on U.S. Army WTF Moments Facebook page, WTF Nation Radio's Facebook page, and also you can go on Twitter at WTF Nation Radio, and you can go on YouTube at WTF Nation Radio. And then there's this new streaming platform called Kick, and that's where all the new streamers. The streamers, gamers, name it. That's where they all go on there. You just check it out, and you could just type in a category, kick.com, and each of our shows, the Monday edition, Pop Culture Warrior, the Smoke Pit, Sergeant's Time, Friday Night Freedom, and then the Sports Bar. We all have our own channels on Kick, and so that's where you could find us.
All those podcasts are great. Yeah, they're fun to listen to.
Yeah. The Smoke Pit name is perfect.
Yeah, that is good.
Yeah, it's exactly what it is too. It's two junior NCOs that shit talk us old guys how we were or how we are, or some senior Army leader will say something. I mean, me, I'm like the Army's. Yeah, I'm like an Army's cheerleader, rah rah. Hey sir, you want to come on and shoot the shit with us? And I'll have like a CG, a general of some post or something like that, or a sergeant major talk to me. But these guys have the Joes. These guys are these are the pulse. And then Thursdays, Sergeant's Time with me. All I do is talk about Army policy, how it's good, bad, whatever. I'll have some military guests on there. And then Friday Night Freedom is exactly what it sounds like. It has to do with like constitutionally connected things like Second Amendment, First Amendment, stuff in the news that gets they shit post on politicians too. So,
that's fun. That's easy.
That is a good time.
Yeah, you guys. Yeah, easy to find.
Well, thanks, Ken. I think that's end up. So I'm calling end up. Ken? Look, he says end up like end X.
Yeah, I was about to say I thought it was index
episode. It is index, but he says end episode.
Oh, gotcha.
It's end up.
Right. Weren't you an artillerist? Weren't you an Army guy?
Come on.
That's why I said rounds complete.
Oh, gotcha. Rounds in the mission, but
over here.
In the
random stuff.
These guys like it so much, so I keep doing it. I'm really serving my team. So that's what
as long as you're not putting chlorine in the fucking coffee pot.
Hey, man. Yeah.
Come on, man. Are you serious about that? It has to reek.
I have to. I heard that because getting to know you guys well. I listened to that podcast and I was dying laughing about. Should you get a Purple Heart for that shit? And I'm like, that should be like a Purple Heart, automatically 100% VA. You should be getting reparations from the Philippine government. I mean, you should freaking get just for all that drama, man.
Imagine if her plan would have worked.
Oh my God!
She'd be sitting high on the hog with his death benefit.
Yep,
and
exactly.
a mansion in the Philippines.
Yeah, exactly.
BX access like nobody's business.
And she'd probably have her own podcast on how to do it.
Exactly. Big pigs in the sky is what you'd call it.
Yeah, exactly.
On behalf of all of us here, I'd like to thank you for listening today. Please like, share, subscribe, and let us know how we did in the comments. And as always, make sure to download the next episode for more Service Headline News. Ken, thanks for joining us. And men, thanks for the week. And I'll see you next week.
Good night, fellas.
I got nothing for you, Eric. I'm gonna just go easy on you this week.
I feel
already
better
trash
about
talked
that.
Marty's stump once, so I feel. I was like, oh, that's a line.
That was a line.
It's
That was
a
a good
goal.
one.
A line is a goal for me.
Thanks for listening. We'll see you next week.